Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be going over the latest news about EU5. Now, as you can see right behind me, it's 3:05, which means this dev diary right here dropped just 5 minutes ago. So I'm coming to you guys with a pretty much a live reaction of this latest dev diary. You guys are of course going to see this in a couple of hours at 6 o'clock. But without further ado, let's check out everything that will be revealed to us today about EU5. This is Tinto Talks number 9th, April 24th. 2024. Welcome to another Tinto Talks. This is the 9th of its kind where we talk about our very secret game using the codename Project Caesar. And today we continue with the 3rd of the 4 talks we have now about the economy systems of the game. So pretty much, the earliest that has been revealed to us about the economy. So let's start. Constructions. All right, I'm finally very excited to get into the building aspect a little bit more. As you guys know, in EU4 that's one of my favorite things to do, build buildings. In the previous development diary we mentioned constructions and how you needed lumber for expanding the mines. In this game, almost all constructions require different materials to progress, and if that material is not available in the local market, then that construction is stalled until the material is available. This includes things like road building, ship building, recruiting regiments, building buildings, or expanding RGOs. So interesting here that all of these things right here are mentioned as sort of a one thing, constructions. When I first saw constructions right here, the only thing I thought was buildings, right? Marketplaces, cathedrals, production buildings, whatever, workshops and whatnot. So that's the thing I initially thought that this was referring to, but apparently this entire construction system will encompass, it's like that in EU4 too, right? You build the soldiers, you build the boats and stuff like that, but you don't really think of it as one whole system, right? But I guess, yeah, it does make sense. So roads, I guess, would be separate to buildings. They wouldn't be like in the same category or whatever. Ships, regiments, and whatnot. So yeah, interesting to see, man. First of all, let me give my opinion of this and then we'll progress. That all of these things right here will not cost only money. So, in EU4, man, you're rich, you got 3,000 ducats in the treasury, go ahead and spam some buildings, maybe spam some boats, maybe increase the size of your army and whatnot. That's it, man. All you gotta do is get money, but obviously it's gonna be very different in EU5. Is that gonna make the whole system a bit too complicated? I don't know. I don't think this is a negative or anything like that. It is definitely more realistic, but will it be too difficult? I guess that's never stopped us. So yeah, we're gonna definitely need materials for all of these things right here. Here we have another screenshot, a monastery in Girona right here. So it's June 29th, 1337. Maybe that is the starting date perhaps. And so these are the things that are required in Barcelona, which I guess is the province, and this is the location, or maybe it's the market of Barcelona. Yeah, so we need stone 0.5, but we don't have any. We need glass, and we do have some, not all of it, obviously, or... No, yeah, we do, actually. What the frick am I talking about? That's way more than 0.2. And then we need 0.5 lumber, and we don't have that. So yeah, that's all the stuff that we need in order to get this building started. Even if we do have the money, we don't have those things, so it's just stalled. For example, building a light ship in the Age of Renaissance requires naval supplies, lumber, weaponry, copper, tin, and metalworks. Meanwhile, moving your capital requires paper, books, stone, lumber, marble, and gold. So yeah, obviously, man, the whole trade goods system, if we can, let's just refer to these things as trade goods for now to, compare them to EU4. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more of them, and they're going to be way more important than they are in EU4. Pretty expected. So yeah, that's just a little, description of this first initial thing. Let's move on to the buildings specifically. Stop! If you're enjoying this EU5 news that I'm telling you right now, why not subscribe for more EU5 news and EU4 gameplay? Yes. Okay, buildings are rather important in Project Caesar. There are hundreds of different types of buildings. Hundreds, you say? I don't know how to feel about that. Some can only be built in rural locations, and some require a town or a city. Obviously, this is something we know already. Some can only be built in ports, and some can only be built in other countries. Yeah, I guess. Some you can only build when there's no owner of a location, Lots of buildings are unique to cultures, regions, religions, or even specific tags. So yeah, there's sort of some of these things like this already in EU4, but you know, it's like the churches being called churches and mosques, if you will, how you can build, you know, dry docks and ports. And the most interesting thing to me about this entire line right here is some you can only build when there is no owner of a location. So this could refer to perhaps an uncolonized province, let's say in the New World, that you will colonize and take control for yourself, right? Or it could be in one of those provinces that are passable through but aren't colonizable, or whatever you want to call it, by anyone else. Think of it like some passages in the Sahara or something like that. So maybe you build like a little I don't know, a rest stop or something, so you know the supply limit increases, or you take less attrition, or you increase the movement speed or something like that. So that's something I'm imagining specifically for this line. Of course it could mean something else, and I could just be an idiot. Let's move on. Some buildings can only have one level, some have a fixed cap, and some have a cap that scales with the population or development and so on. That's pretty cool to hear. Buildings can also be categorized into 3 different categories: buildings that can produce goods, buildings that only give effects, and buildings that can only be built by the estates. Those pure estates usually have a drawback to them as well, and it's not easy to remove them. So parish church. So I guess this is something specifically built by the clergy or whatever that's hard for us to remove. And obviously, you know, the clergy and the peasants have a lot more power in this specific location or province or whatever. And yeah, that's all we can take away from this screenshot. Definitely not something we were all that keen on having in here. It does increase demands for some goods though. Yeah, interesting. I wonder what all of these things right here mean. So what about producing buildings then? This is where the truly fun part of the economy starts. Project Caesar has a large amount of different goods. We currently have about 70 different ones that have different needs, and some are needed for the military, some are needed solely by pops, some are needed for buildings, and so on. So yeah, I don't know how many trade goods are in EU4, man. Is it like 20-ish? Less than 20? Shoot, I can't name them all off the top of my head, but it's definitely not 70, boys. So yeah, I was sort of expecting around this ballpark when I, you know, took a look at the stuff that it set up there. So actually, man, that's pretty cool. Producing buildings in towns and cities go from guilds and workshops to manufactories and mills at the end of the game. So yeah, production buildings. Okay, so like workshops and whatever the upgrade one is called. So yeah, guilds, workshops, manufactories, mills. So that's all, you know, one single type. Very cool to see. These include everything from paper makers guilds to foundries, in producing building outputs, one or more types of goods. Finally, we have buildings that are purely giving an effect. These include granaries that include how much food you can store, libraries that increase literacy, different types of forts, buildings that train manpower, port buildings to help with shipbuilding, and much more. Very cool. Yeah, obviously this is expected. So here we have a castle. I guess you've clicked on the building at this point in the game. Maybe this is like the garrison size or whatever, or how many people are needed to maintain it. Maybe these are the levels or something like that. We don't know yet. And these are the following benefits: plus 500 garrison size, and it has a zone of control. And yeah, this is what we need to construct it. And this is, I guess, what it needs to sustain itself. I don't know. I guess it's something like that. Some claim you can build stockades of wood, but we trust only stone. Almost all buildings, though, have a production method, which impacts how they work. Yeah, so this is that right here. Production methods. Moving on right now. All buildings have at least one production method slot with one production method, but many have different methods in each slot, and there are plenty of buildings with multiple production method slots. What is a production method then? A production method is a list of goods that are required for a building to function. So yeah, that's exactly what I said. So I guess if we look at the ticks monthly regarding these things like it is in EU5, this building needs 0.05 stone, 0.05, I don't know, maybe this could be like metalworks, 0.05 weapons, and this I guess could be food, 0.02 per month to function. So yeah, that's how, you know, buildings not only generate income like in EU4 for example. Here they also generate expenses, which is obviously a lot more realistic. As an example, a castle does not produce any goods but still requires stone, metalworks, weaponry, and tar. Okay, that's not food, it's tar to function, and if it does not get those goods, then the castle will not function properly. The effectiveness of a building is based on the lowest available percentage of goods present, and it will only purchase and use materials in that percentage required. If the market cannot supply enough resources, then it will not work. So yeah, interesting here to see, man, that if it can't get these, it just doesn't work straight up. You know, you would think it's like less effective. For example, once again comparing it to EU4 because we don't have any knowledge. Let's say you have I don't know, plus a 50% fort defense in some fort, whatever, it doesn't matter. and then let's say these things were in EU4 as well, and you get some of them, but maybe not all of them. Like you get not enough of all of them. You get all 4, but not enough. And then maybe, you know, the effectiveness drops to plus only 25% or whatever, something like that. But based off of what I'm reading right here, even if you got 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, and then you only have 0.01 of this, then the building will not function. At least that's how I'm getting it. It remains to be seen if it's actually like that. The output of the producing building is also scaled by the percentage mentioned above. So production methods for Paper Makers Guild. This is pretty interesting right here. So to make animal parchment, which is this, we need cloth, or I guess that's leather, and wood. Rag paper, I don't know what that is. Wood. Fiber bulb pulp paper, wood pulp. Okay, so yeah, I think this is all. Let's say, okay, so now I'm getting it. So I'm talking here before I even read if it explains it, but I'm just trying to give my opinion before actually seeing what's the right thing here. So these are not actually, man, let's say different types of paper that this mill or guild produces, but actually I think they're upgrades or even downgrades that you can do in regards to producing paper, right? So let's say, you know, it's the early portion of the game and you don't have these trade goods or whatever, right? Or you haven't researched the technology yet needed to do that. You're producing animal parchment. And I guess right now, I don't know, let's say we're at wood pulp paper. If you swap to this, you'll lose this much money. If you swap back to this, you'll lose this much. Then if you upgrade to wood pulp, you'll make this much, and so on and so on. So yeah, I think you will be able to change these whenever you want, producing whatever. I'm just you know what I'm thinking right now, man? If you really gotta go into every specific building to do this or whatever, or I don't know, yeah, might be too complicated, man. Like I said at the start, this might be going a bit too deep. And let me tell you my biggest worry, boys, right now that I have about EU5. It might not be that fun to watch, which of course that doesn't bode well for me, as it's a pretty big part of my job. But yeah, are they making EU5 too boring? I guess it remains to be seen. But yeah, I like that it's this and that in depth. I just hope it's not too tedious and annoying to do. There are a few options here, but only wood pulp would be profitable here, probably because of the great supply of lumber in this market. Okay, so maybe it doesn't depend on technology, and maybe there isn't a best one, you know? And of course, you can automate the production method selection, which will adapt it on a monthly basis based on what resources are available and what will be profitable. Now that's excellent. You see, right there. That's why I like to read stuff, make my assumptions, and then continue reading, so either I can be proven right or disproven. And this is perfect, man. You can automate all that stuff, tell it, you know, tell all of the buildings in your country, yo, just make whatever kind of paper, we have the stuff to make, and what's the best for us, you know, and they'll be swapping through automatically and stuff like that. So yeah, that's actually excellent to see, and that pretty much just disapproves what I said. So great for it. Sucks for me, but actually no, because I wanted it like this. Either way, the UI also allows for macro decisions regarding production methods. Perfect. Other important aspects. Every building requires employed pops to function as well, obviously, and those that require upper class pops like burghers, clergy, and nobles also increase the potential for them in that location, making pops slowly promoted plops. This can be slightly awkward as powerful nobles or clergy construct more buildings that make them more numerous and powerful. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if they're doing well, they want to keep doing well, right? So, yeah, that probably won't be too good for us, but it remains to be seen. Producing buildings that are not profitable will be closed, and pops will work in other buildings. However, you can always subsidize a building if we require the goods or other benefits it gives. Speaking of profit, the profit of a building is added to the tax base of a location, split among the power of the population in the location. Yeah, we already took a look at the tax base 1, 2, or 3 Dev Diaries ago or something like that, so you can go back in the videos and watch it if you're not caught up. You can always close and open a building if you want to manipulate prices, or if you want your pops to work with other things and you don't want to destroy a building permanently. So yeah, that's pretty good, man. That's pretty good. I like that. It's just like, you know, lowering maintenance or whatever, but, you know, in a more realistic sense, open it and close it. This is pretty good, I think. All of these things, man, that I've been taking a look at today, I think they'll be super fun to fiddle around with like small nations. Let's say some HRE miners or whatnot, you know, not very large nations. You do small, slow wars, take a province here and there, take a province here and there, and more, you know, manage your country internally. Whereas I hope for larger nations, maybe even later in the game, let's say when you build the Ottoman Empire or whatever, or a massive colonial empire, I hope that all of these things will be automated, like I said up here, and you won't even really have to think about doing these things, right? Yeah. But I wonder how it'll work right off the start with some large countries like maybe Hungary right at the start or whatever. Yeah. We mentioned last week about the different ways to get raw materials, and one way to get it is, besides trade, is through a set of rural buildings. These include lumber mills that you can build in any wood or forest location to produce lumber, sheep farms, stone quarries, and many more. Yeah, very nice to see right here. So stone quarries, obviously it produces stone, so you'll need this much metalworks, this much lumber, and this much cloth, I guess, or maybe it's clay, I guess it's cloth, to produce one stone, let's say. And this is all we needed to construct it, along with the money, I guess. Yeah, this requires some input, might be worth it. I guess we'll have to see. There are also stockpiles of goods, but those are in the market. There are buildings you can build that increase the amount they can store, as if you do not have the goods required for building, unit, or construction, those will not function. Speaking of markets, that's something we'll talk about more next week when we delve deeper into the trade system. Finally, man, finally trade next week. You know, we've been talking a little bit about the economy these past 3 weeks, including this one. This is obviously the third economy-focused Dev Diary. And these markets, you know, local markets, blah, 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 they've all been mentioned in all of these previous Dev Diaries with really no explanation on them, just a little bit here and there. So I do think out of all of the economy Dev Diaries that we have, and we will have all of these for, I think things will be a lot clearer, even though we don't have that much information next week when that whole information about about markets drops. But yeah, super exciting to learn at least a little bit about buildings. There are stuff I like here, definitely. It's of course going to be a lot more in depth, since you need goods for the building to function. You need goods for it to be constructed at all. It keeps using them as it exists, outputs different things. So yeah, I think this is going to be really, really fun, man. Once again, going back to nations that exist in EU4, because I don't really know how the map is going to be in EU5. Let's say you play someone like, I don't know, Trier, right? You start off with 2 provinces, you can manage things, take a look at every individual building, what it needs, how you're going to do that. So I think it's going to be super, super fun for tall gameplay and for smaller nations. But I'm also more excited to see, or maybe not more, but I definitely want to know more about how it's going to work with larger nations with, I don't know, man, the Ottomans or whatever, right? You've played already 150 years or something like that as the Ottomans. You have all of the Balkans, all of Anatolia right here, pushing into the Maghreb, pushing into Egypt. You're huge. You're managing so many different things, massive, massive wars. You can't be bothered to go into the province of Aydin or whatever and take a look at what the paper guild produces there, or whatever, the paper makers guild. That's not really your job. So yeah, that's definitely something I want to see more of. How do you automate the whole thing, and how much do you actually get involved or not involved in nations that ended up being large, or in nations that are already very large? Like I just mentioned, Hungary a few minutes ago. Hungary is pretty large at the start. It'll probably be one of the most powerful nations in 1337. That feels so weird to say, but yeah, when you start building the buildings in them, do you really want to mess with that many buildings in Hungary that is such a large nation right at the start? I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. But yeah, aside from that, I'm liking everything I'm seeing. Maybe I wished some of these other things in these building screenshots that we've seen be explained, but I guess we'll get to know more when we get to know more. One thing I didn't check out right here is this art. I always open up the art as well, and let's take a look at this image right here. So this looks like like Italy to me, if I'm being honest. Maybe could be Spain or something like that as well. Sorry if I'm not familiar with all of these outfits or whatever. There's this newspaper guy, I guess, standing on some stuff over here. We got a cat as well. Yeah, like I've said in every Dev Diary so far, I'm really, really liking the art, man. Really gets you in the mood for a game like that or something like that. But is that Arabic on that right there? Yeah, maybe I'm wrong about where this is. Yeah, could be Iberia or whatever, or something like that. But yeah, pretty cool. Let me actually reload this page right here and see if we have had any Johan responses to comments, even though it is pretty early. So yeah, we got stockpiles confirmed. Also food reserves by province. Yes. How many languages will be there? More than English. We can't confirm anything else right now. Yeah, obviously there'll be a lot more languages. Zone of control is confirmed, I guess. Will they work the same like in U4? If yes, how will it work with such tiny locations? Zone of Control has some common with EU4 and also some common with Imperator. Yeah, I can't say I'm mad about that, honestly. I'm not. Are you able to destroy buildings when you're attacking? If I'm trying to take a few locations on my border, can I destroy buildings deeper in my enemy's territory to make future conquest easier? Not easily, so I guess it can be done to destroy, you know, a foreign nation's buildings, which is not something you can do in EU4, by the way. You know, you just, let's say you need to build a shipyard in a province and you delete the church, right? That's super easy when it's yours. You just click on the X and that's it. But, you know, I guess you will be able to destroy enemies' buildings, but quite difficult. I see. Can locations import goods outside their local market to get resources they need? We will talk about trade next week, but yes, you can trade resources between markets. Yeah, this was obviously something that was expected. It just wasn't implicitly mentioned so far. Does this mean that pops also have needs or only buildings and navies and armies? Like, do the burghers need X amount of luxury cloth a month? There are plenty of things needing goods, including pops. All right, I guess that's all I can say about that. I see Zone of Control on the castle tooltip. Honestly, I hope the invisible walls from EU4 will be abandoned and a more immersive system of CK3. Huge attrition when going into enemy territory without activating castles will be used. EU4 Zone of Control, let's say, has a couple of issues, one of them being incredibly confusing if you don't know every rule of it. You don't need to know the rules, man. Just occupy the forts, bro. Everyone's always complaining about forts. How is this possible? How can they walk in here? There's always an explanation. The AI doesn't cheat on forts, and it's not that hard. Let's be real. Rules are more similar to Imperator, which was a 2.0 of the system. Of course, in the Napoleonic Age, you can freely ignore Zone of Control if you get the tech for it. Interesting. Another age confirmed. So far we got the Age of Renaissance and the Napoleonic Age. So yeah, you heard it here first, folks. 1337 to 1836. 499 years of gameplay. Peacetime action will have something to do during peacetime. Building buildings, expanding RGOs, handling trade. I actually don't know what this is. Handling trade, dealing with the states and parliaments creates nice peacetime game mechanic. Very nice. Will buildings decay and therefore require small amounts of goods for its maintenance? Yes. Oh yeah, right. Of course. Exist warehouse and we can stock resource? Yes, if you got the market center, you can. Yeah, very interesting. Those are all the responses that Johan has given so far. As always, I'm going to leave a link to this dev diary in the description or the pinned comment or both. And at the time you guys watch this video, I'm sure there will be a couple of more responses from Johan by then. And you can check those out and read through those and take a look at the dev diary yourself. Maybe go over anything that you feel I didn't explain too well. So yeah, man, my opinion on everything we've seen specifically only for today's dev diary, let me just repeat it once again. I think it's going to be super fun for small nations and super fun for tall gameplay and super fun for chilling while you're not at war. As for big nations, I'm very interested in seeing how far it can be automated and how involved you have to be. But yeah, that's my opinion, and that's the news, the latest news regarding EU5, and that's all I have to say about that. Let me open up my calendar right here, and I actually don't know when I would be doing the next EU5 news video. Could be next week, could be in 2 weeks, depending on what other types of videos you know, we do. Obviously, it's the 24th today. Winds of Change is dropping pretty soon, so be on the lookout for new videos featuring the new DLC, new guides. Obviously, I have some doozies for you guys, and yeah, very exciting EU5 news as always. I'm about 90% liking everything we've seen so far. But yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think about all the building stuff that we've seen today. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to leave a like. It really helps out a lot. And if you like the content and want to see more videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of them. And you can become a member today and join the Discord. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with another EU4 video.